Yes, so the recorded history begins somewhere around 500 BC with the advent of Cyrus the Great. He was an emperor that ruled over vast tract of land from Turkey, Asia Minor to India. And he was an Achaemenian. This is the Achaemenian dynasty that he established. And he was a Zoroastrian. Cyrus was a Zoroastrian. And that's the recorded history begins there with Cyrus and continues on to Alexander's conquest of Persia. At that time, Alexander defeated the Persians at the Battle of Gaugamela, and then on, the country went into a chaotic state, and 40 years down the road, there was a Parthian dynasty established, and that continued for 200 plus years until the Sasanians came. And the Sasanians made Zoroastrianism the state religion, and religion continued with the Sasanians until 650 AD, till the advent of Islam, the Arabs, the Arab conquest of Iran, Persia. At that time, some of the Zoroastrians were kind of lived in seclusion, and after a while they left the shores of Iran and settled wherever their ship took them. They settled on the shores of India, where we have lived there for over 1,000 years, and prospered under the Hindu regime there. And we've done well for ourselves, and particularly on the west coast of India. And that's where we come from. I come from India. We've lived there for over 1,000 years, and we still have a small population of Zoroastrians in Iran, about between 15 to 30,000, somewhere in that area. So that's a brief history of our faith, and faith and our historical narrative go together. Yes, Zarathustra proclaimed for the first time in human history that there is one God, and he called that God Ahura Mazda. Ahura is Lord and Mazda is wise. So Ahura Mazda. So in effect, Ahura Mazda is the Lord of wisdom. And then he continued to place before humankind the attributes of Ahura Mazda, several attributes of Ahura Mazda. Chief among those is the good mind, Vahuman. From a good mind flows good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. And these words, Humata, Hukata, Huvarasha, are sometimes written on our altars. So, Vahumana is very important to Zoroastrians, and Zarathustra placed the attributes for humankind to emulate. So, Vahuman, we are enjoined to develop a good mind. The second attribute he placed before us was Asha, righteousness. And righteousness is the embodiment of the natural laws of nature, natural laws that are for order and harmony, natural laws of order and harmony, which is what governs all of our lives. The third attribute he placed before us was Kshatriya, divine majesty, and we are enjoined to be of service to humanity through Kshatriya. The fourth attribute is Almighty, which is devotion. We are enjoined to be devoted to our family, friends, community, country. So devotion is a major part of our faith. akin to love in some other faiths, but ours is devotion. And with the practice of those four attributes, one can receive the reward of Auravatat and Amaratat. Auravatat is perfection, and Amaratat is immortality. In other words, you become one with Ahura Mazda through the practice of these four attributes. So the nature of God is placed right before us in these attributes. And that's what we try and practice in our daily lives. And it's also, this tells you that it is a religion of consequence. So you do these, you practice, you do good, you receive good consequences. You do evil, you live not a very good life, then you suffer the consequence of your doing. So it's sort of existential philosophy. Well, heaven is a state, and we call it Garothman, which is the abode of Ahura Mazda. So, with the practice of doing good in this world, you receive the reward and you become one with Ahura Mazda. In other words, you reach the heaven or the abode of Ahura Mazda, which is Garothman. Heaven and hell is a Zoroastrian concept. So if you do good, you receive the reward of heaven, which is the Garothman. And if you do evil, it is not hell, not eternal damnation, but you suffer the consequence, but ultimately your soul will rise and become one with Ahura Mazda. So in our faith, it is not eternal damnation. It is, your soul advances through several stages. The 5 stages, we figure there are 5 stages through which the soul advances and reaches Ahura Mazda. All souls reach Ahura Mazda at some point. Our bodies are made of 9 parts, we believe. 3 of those are eternal, they don't die with the body. The rest are bones, this, that, and the other, but the 3 parts don't die with the body. One is the soul that we talked about. The other one, very important aspect, is the Fravashi. Fravashi is represented by this symbol, the winged symbol, and that we call Fravashi. That is the part of divinity within each one of us, part of divinity in humanity. That is our guiding spirit. That is what guides us. This is the divine spirit that each one of us have. And all of us have this divine spirit. That is what connects us all together, one to the other. And that is the connectedness that we have with everybody else. And Fravashi does not die with the body. The Fravashi is part of the divine, so goes to the divine. But we remember the Fravashis of the departed every year. Last 5 days of the year are devoted to the remembrance of the Fravashis of the departed. So we recite the Gathas of Zarathustra the last 5 days, and we place on a table a vase with flowers representing the Fravashi of the departed. And we would remember our departed in that way year after year for several years after the person has passed. So that's an important aspect also. One other thing that I want to get in there is that all of us, the Zoroastrians, have a mission in life. And we consider ourselves as Hamkars of Ahura Mazda. Hamkar is a co-worker. So each one of us is a co-worker. Together with Ahura Mazda, we are enjoined to move his creation forward to a blissful stage that we call Frashokarity. So that's our mission in life, and that is what Zoroastrians are known for. So we are engaged in charitable works, humanitarian works, and so on, so that moving creation forward constantly, so that ultimately we reach that blissful stage, which we never can attain, but we should always strive towards that. And that's what impels Zoroastrians. Well, the canons, we do not, our faith is not a prescriptive faith. As I said, the mind, the good mind, the development of the good mind is all important. So if we are faced with a question, then we deliberate with the good mind, and knowing what the answer, the right answer is, what moves creation forward, what helps creation is good, and that is what we are enjoined to do or follow. So canon-wise, we do not have canons as such, or prescriptions. Thou shalt not do this, thou shalt do that. We do not have that. It's the good mind that impels us forward. And we figure things out for ourselves. And if you develop that good mind, not allow the mind to be corrupted, then you always come up with the right answer for the right moment. And that's all I can tell you in regard to the canon. However, of course, we have several prayers that we have 3 cardinal prayers that we recite constantly, and that reminds us to do several things. First of all, the Ashem Vahu prayer reminds us to be good and do good for the sake of doing good and not seeking any reward. And it is happiness to the one who gives happiness to others. That is our first prayer, Ashem Vahu, that we recite constantly. The second prayer is Yatahu Veryo, which reminds us to be of service to humankind. And the third prayer is Yangya Atam, which reminds us to follow in the footsteps of our illustrious forefathers, those that have preceded us and those that have guided us with certain guidance that have given us in the past, lived a pious, good life. We use them as our guide and mentors to help ourselves to live a good life in this world. We have several scriptures of what remains. Several of our scriptures have been destroyed over centuries with the Alexander's destruction and then the Arab conquest and so on. But what remains? We have Yasna, 72 chapters of the Yasna. Yasna is our most important scriptures. Then we have several others which are minor scriptures. But a priest is enjoined to commit to memory the 72 chapters of the Yasna. And that's our oral tradition, that the priest commits the scriptures to memory. Nobody can erase that memory. So that is how it is retained, and it is passed on from father to son, father to son. And that's how we have received all of our scriptures from 3,000 years, 4,000 years back. Now we have several symbolisms in our faith. I mentioned the 72 chapters of the Yasna. We tie a cord around our waist, which 3 times around our waist. And that cord is a hollow cord made of 72 threads of lamb's wool, 72 representing the 72 chapters of the Yasna. So that is one symbolism. We also wear an undergarment, which we call Sudra, and there is a pocket here, a symbolic pocket. It's called Giraban, in which we are enjoined to put our good deeds that we do daily. So it's a reminder that we need to do good in this world. We have several other symbolisms, fire being the chief symbol, and erroneously we are kind of known as fire worshippers, which we take chagrin, and we worship Hauramazda through fire. So fire represents the divinity for us on this earth. So it's the presence of divinity for us, and through that we connect to Ahura Mazda. So when we recite the prayers, you will see the priest touching the ladle and then joining hands. In other words, he's making the connection with Ahura Mazda and humankind, with us. So we join our hands with and connect ourselves to Ahura Mazda. So those are lots of symbolisms. These are some of the chief symbolisms. And scriptural-wise, we have chief scriptures, the Yasna, and with 72 chapters, which our priests are enjoined to commit to memory, and they do. So that is why a priest, a young man, becomes a priest at a very early age, so that he has a fresh mind and he can absorb, and he does commit, and then it's with him for life. Yes, I touched on the priesthood. We don't have a hierarchy. We are all individuals, individualistic people, and although we do have priests that we respect and we call them dasturs. So there are several grades of temples. We have 3 grades of temples, or 3 grades of fires which are housed in a temple. The first grade is the house fire, which is the Dadga. The second grade is the Adran, and the third grade is the Atash Beheram. So there are 9 with Iran. There are 10 Atash Beherams in the whole world. Each of those Atash Beheram, not every one, but Atash Beheram would have a head priest or a high priest, and that priest is called a dastur. So today we have 6 dasturs in our midst that are the high priests of these Atash Beherams, which is the highest grade of fire. And so we respect them. They do not dictate to us, but they do give us valuable advice. And we do seek their advice, and we kind of we have high respect for them. And it's a hereditary kind of position where the son of that particular person, the dastur, would also become the dastur. So otherwise our priests are known as Ervad. The title is Ervad, E-R-V-A-D, Ervad. Ervad is synonymous more or less with reverend. So to be an Ervad, you have to have passed 2 levels of exams, sort of 2 levels of competency. The first level is Navar, which is the junior priest, and then he learns a little more of the scriptures, and he becomes a martab. So most of our priests would be Navar and martab, 2 levels, and they are called Ervad. And then when some of these priests rise to become dasturs. So today we have 6 dasturs in our midst. That's our priesthood. The son of a priest, the Athornan, we call them Athornans, would automatically be entitled to become a priest, provided he studies the scriptures and memorizes them and learns the rituals and learns the scriptures and all the different concepts and things like that, so that once he's memorized, once he's learned the rituals, then he's ordained as a priest. And usually that happens between the ages of 9 and 14, somewhere in that area. Although now in this country particularly, we have started with assistant priest, and we call those mobidyars. Mobidyar meaning yar is the assistant to a mobid. And they are required to perform only certain types of ceremonies. There are 2 levels of ceremonies: inner ceremonies and outer ceremonies. Outer ceremonies are performed with general, it does not require a fire temple. Inner ceremonies are performed in a fire temple. in a particular area which is called Yajasnega. So that's the level of priest. We have the two levels of priests, the Erward and then the Dasturs. And the priests are generally young. But then they are self-taught, and ultimately they would rise to a level where they are learned, and they continue their learning throughout their lives, so that they retain that learning and then transfer that learning to the laity. So that's the process that is followed. I would put initiation ceremony, child being initiated into the faith as the most important rite. We call that the Navjot ceremony. Navjot is new initiate, new birth, new initiate. So when the child between the ages of 7 and 14 is taught the scriptures, taught some of the scriptures, the prayers, the regular prayers that he recites daily, a person recites daily. He's taught how to tie the kushti, which I mentioned earlier, and sadro. And when he is ready or she is ready, the child is initiated into the faith. It's a nice ceremony. It's called the Navjot ceremony. And the child, in the presence of the audience, the family and friends, would recite the prayers that has been taught to him or her in the presence of a mobid, a priest. And the priest would adorn the child with the sudra, which is the inner garment that we wear, and then tie the kushti for the first time around the waist. And the child would then recite a particular prayer which is called Jasme Havange Mazda. And in that prayer, the child takes an oath, sort of to say, that the child will be a good Zoroastrian, would be a bridge builder, would be sheath the sword. In vernacular, it is sheathing the sword, meaning he'd be non-violent and be peaceful in everything he does. So the child makes that commitment to be a good Zoroastrian, to think good thoughts, to do good deeds, to speak good words, and makes that commitment to build bridges and to be in harmony, live in harmony with creation, which is an important aspect of Zoroastrians, that we are enjoined to respect, revere. We have great reverence for creation, so that we would not defile creation. The child is taught all those things to take care of the creation. And then the child is initiated, and thereon the child is a regular Zartusti or Zoroastrian. So that's the most important rite. The second one being, of course, the wedding, which is the life cycle ceremonies. The wedding is another important aspect where the bride and the groom are blessed by the priest. They take an affirmation that they would be husband and wife, and they would honor each other, and would win each other over with righteousness. And then the priest gives them several, they call admonitions, which are lessons or good advice of how to live a good coordinated life in harmony with each other and with nature. And then, of course, the third part of the ceremony is the priest blesses the couple, and then there's the feasting and all that goes on. But that's another important part of our rituals or the ceremonies. And the other one, the last, when you depart the last cycle, when a person passes, Uh, the body has no value because, as I said, the soul and the fravashis are eternal. They separate from the body. As the person passes, there's a little lamp that is placed at the head of the person that has departed, symbolizing the soul leaving the body. And the rites are performed, the funeral rites are performed, and the body is disposed of very quickly. We believe in natural disposal of the body, and the remains are just kind of allowed to deteriorate by themselves, the bones and whatever is left. But natural disposal is what we still practice in India, not in this country. And then, of course, as I had mentioned before, the soul is judged according to what a person has conducted his or her life in this world, and receives the reward or the punishment or the consequences, heaven and hell. So it's a religion of consequence, and it's a religion of responsibility, most important. And the other, what we are also known for, is that this is a religion of the good life. So we are enjoined to live a good, useful life in service of humanity. Wealth is not shunned. Wealth is accepted in our community, provided it is used for useful purposes. And our people do use their wealth for lots of different charities, hospitals and schools and libraries and things of that sort. They are known for that. Our charities are known for that kind of use of the wealth. We are known for equality of the sexes. So the roles not differ in the sense that, of course, the men have been the breadwinners throughout history, but in the last century, of course, that's not true. Both husband and wife, men, women, are earn a living, and they each are employed in professions. But essentially, as I said before, the men take up priesthood. The women generally have not taken priesthood, but lately there has been a move towards women becoming priests as well. So we have 2 or 3 examples in our community where women have taken up priesthood. The women, of course, are in the house, and they rear the children, and their responsibility is to, they are, of course, the key, the pillars of the society, where they rear the children, they teach the children, they do all the keep up the household and everything else. So that's their big responsibility. But of course, these days men share with the housework and everything else. But the equality is stressed in our faith and very much adhered to by all of us. We are very equal in everything we do, except for a few of these things that I mentioned, where they're not quite accepted as priests, although they're making some inroads, and ultimately I would say that they'll be the same with the man. We have great respect for all of the faiths, and we do not, of course, practice any other faith except ours, but we would respect, and we would make certain that the person respects his or her follows his or her faith very We are very strict about that. We do not proselytize, and we do not convert, although a person who is inclined towards Zoroastrianism and he comes to our community, we accept him as one of us. That's what we've been doing in North America. But as far as respect for other faiths, we have tremendous respect, and consequently others have respect for us. So particularly in India, you will see that the community in India is very, very well respected, and to the extent that the community is diminishing today, and there are programs that the government has put forward to make certain that our fertility rate increases and so on. So to that extent, that the government wants to ensure that the community remains. Well, one thing I mentioned earlier is that we don't have any prescriptions. Other faiths probably do, and I know for certain that some do, but we don't have any particular prescriptions that you shall do this and you shall not do that. It's the good mind. The mind is most supreme. We got to think matters through and come up with the right answers. So I think that sets us apart. But the other thing is that we are impelled by that thought that we are co-workers of Ahura Mazda. So our mission in life is to create a better world, to make this world better and better, and so that we reach a blissful stage that we call frashokarity. So that impels Zoroastrians to always strive for making the world better by servicing humanity, by building hospitals, by doing this, by charities, this, that, and the other. So that's something that sets us apart from some of the other faiths, because it's right within our faith that we are required to do that. The other aspect is our reverence for all of creation, which is the air, the sky, the waters, the earth, the vegetable kingdom, the animal kingdom. So that, I think, does set us apart from other faiths. It's the creation that we have reverence for and we have to care for, including, of course, humanity. And the other aspect is we are enjoined to live a good life in this world, and we are judged according to our actions. So the axiom, sow and so shall you reap, is very true in our faith. So if we do good, we reap the rewards of doing good, and if we do evil, then we are going to suffer the consequences. And it is also an existential philosophy, here and now. So you do good and you're going to face some good consequences down the line, here and now. And so the reverse for if you do something evil. So there is no savior. You are yourself your own savior. There's nobody else who is going to come and save you. So you have to be on your toes and do the right thing all the time, because there is no salvation otherwise for an individual. So that's something that sets us apart.